It's time for the 5th annual Wells Fargo Advisors Shootout, and the Central City boys are set to take on the high-power Dunkerton Raiders from Cohawk Arena on the campus of Coe College in Cedar Rapids. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to today's presentation of Wildcat Basketball on the Wildcat Sports YouTube page. I'm David Warrington, and Central City is set to compete at the WFA Shootout for the 3rd time. Before we get started, I have to give a shout-out to our sponsor, Heartland Bank. Heartland Bank is a proud supporter of Central City Wildcat sports. At Heartland Bank, we recognize more than ever the need to support local customers and organizations in our communities. At Heartland Bank, we're here for you. So it is the 5th annual Wells Fargo Advisors Shootout. The event has taken place over numerous gyms in Cedar Rapids. Started at the now Alliant Energy Powerhouse, then moved to Cedar Rapids Kennedy High School, and now it's here at Coe College at Cohawk Arena for the 2nd year in a row. A couple of good teams out here tonight, and let's take a look at those teams. First up for Central City. They come into this game with a 10-5 record. They are 6-2 in the Tri-Rivers West. They did not play their best last night, went to Starmont and won, but only 53-38. Certainly need to play better than that here tonight if they want to compete against Dunkerton. Assistant coach for the Wildcats is John McGovern. Central City's head coach in his first season is Ryan Turner. During his time with the Wildcats, Coach Turner with a record of 10 wins and 5 losses. Players to watch for Central City include Makai Benton. The junior is averaging nearly 17 points per game. That is 3rd best in the Tri-Rivers West. Also nearly 7 rebounds per contest, which is 5th in the conference. Also have the close rim boys to watch out for. Matthew is the sophomore point guard, averaging 13.5 points per game, 2nd on the team. Also 2nd leading rebounder at 6 per game. Leading assist man with 4 per night, and also leading the team in steals with 1.9 per contest. And also Aiden Klosterman, a big threat for Central City, averaging nearly 11 points per game, 3rd best on the team. 2.5 assists, is 2nd best, and is the best 3-point shooter in terms of percentage at 38.4% on the year. And Central City's opponent here this afternoon is Dunkerton. The Raiders are a perfect 12-0, 8-0 in the Iowa Star North Conference, ranked 6th in Class 1A in the state of Iowa. Raiders hosted Waterloo Christian last night and came away with a dominant victory. Final score there was 94-60. Assistant coaches for the Raiders are Derek Hobson, Dan Kniebel, and Bryce Rigdon. Dunkerton's head coach in his 15th season is Todd Kuntz. Coach Kuntz with a record of 236 wins and 110 losses. Players to watch for the Raiders include Preston Gillespie. The senior is averaging 27.5 points per game. That's the 5th most in the entire state of Iowa. Also leads the team with 10.5 rebounds per game and 1.2 blocks. The point guard for Dunkerton is the senior Casey Gardner, averaging 23.5 points per game, 2nd most in the team. Would be most on pretty much any other team, but not Dunkerton. They score a lot of points. 6 rebounds per night. That is 2nd most on the team. And he is the top assist man in the entire state of Iowa, regardless of class, averaging nearly 11 assists per contest. Also leads the way on the team in steals with 2.5 per game. And the final player to watch for the Raiders is Dylan Marquardt, the sophomore, averaging 16.5 points per game. That is 3rd best on the team. I mentioned Dunkerton scores a lot of points. Averaging 91 points per game are the Raiders, while allowing less than 50. They are winning on average by over 40 points per game. So far this season, that has helped them to their perfect 12-0 record, 8-0 in the Iowa Star North. Little under 6 minutes to go until we tip this one off here from Cedar Rapids, Cohawk Arena on the campus of Coe College. Again, David Warrington here with you this afternoon. Central City's 3rd time competing in this event. They competed back in 2020, my senior year, at Cedar Rapids Kennedy High School against Edgewood Colesburg. Wildcats won it 67-51. And then last year here at Coe, the Wildcats took down Columbus. 70-45 was the final score in that game. Series history between Dunkerton and Central City. They've only played 3 times, dating back to 2020, is a 2-1 Raider lead in the series. At Central City on January 20th of 2020, the Wildcats took down the Raiders 48-38. Then January 18th of 2021 at Dunkerton, the Raiders came away with an 88-14 victory. And last year at Central City on the 17th of January, the Raiders got the victory 68-35 in a game the Wildcats hung around for a little while, but ultimately fell in convincing fashion to the Dunkerton Raiders. Little under 5 minutes to go before we tip this one off. Let's take a look at some of the action around the conference last night. A full slate of games both on the west and the east side. And here were the results for the boys. First up at Alburnett, the Pirates hosted Edgewood Colesburg and cruised to victory 73-31. Maquoketa Valley hosted East Buchanan, and the Wildcats came away with a 68-37 victory. Central City was at Starmont, and as I mentioned, didn't play their best by any means, but did win 53-38. And then at Springville, North Lynn had their way with the Orioles. Final score there was 98-30. Over on the east side, Calamus-Wheatland hosted Midland. The Cal-Wheat Warriors won that one 47-43. Prince of Peace was at Lisbon, and the Irish took down the Lions 62-48. And Marquette Catholic, who is here today, playing in the next game, I believe. Yep, they'll be taking on Don Bosco at 1:30. They were at North Cedar last night, but a final score has yet to be posted as of game time now. Both teams on the floor, and let's go ahead and take a look at the starting lineups for today's matchups, or for today's matchup, I should say. We'll start with the Raiders. Both teams have their starters, it appears, without their shooting shirts, but Dunkerton's been pretty consistent with their starting five. They've gone with the same five every game, and here are those five. First up is Braden Van Lengen, the 6'1 senior, averaging 4 points per game, 4.5 rebounds and assists, and just over 2 steals. Also in the starting five is Dylan Marquardt, a 6'1 sophomore, averaging 16.5 points per game, 3 rebounds, 1.5 assists, and 1.5 steals. Preston Gillespie will also start for the Raiders, a 6'3 senior, averaging 27.5 points per game, 5th most in the state, shoots at 66.7% from the floor, makes 2 out of every 3 shots he takes, 10.5 rebounds, 3rd best in the Iowa Star Conference, 2.5 assists, 1.5 steals, and just over 1 block. Also in the starting five is the point guard, Casey Gardner, 5'10 senior, averaging 23.5 points per game, nearly 6 rebounds, and just under 11 assists, 10.8 to be precise, and that is the most in the state of Iowa. Also adds just over 2.5 assists, 4th best in the conference. And rounding out the starting five is Jaden Downs, a 5'9 senior, averaging 3 points per night, 2.5 rebounds, an assist, and a steal. And now the starting lineup for your Central City Wildcats. They've stayed consistent these last several games, and these are the five we'll see once again out on the floor to begin the game here tonight. First off, at point guard is the 5'10 sophomore Matthew Klosterman, 13.5 points per game, 6 rebounds, team best 4 assists, and nearly 2 steals to lead the team. Matthew's brother Aiden Klosterman will start at the shooting guard position, a 5'10 junior, averaging nearly 11 points per night, shooting at a team best 38.4% from 3. Also the 3rd best free throw shooter in the Tri-Rivers, 85%, 3 rebounds, 2.5 assists, and a steal. Starting at a forward is Jaden Hansen, the 5'11 junior, averaging just shy of 2 points per game, little over 2 rebounds, and a little under 1 steal. At a forward is Makai Benton, the 6'3 junior, averaging nearly 17 points per game. He is the 3rd leading scorer in the Tri-Rivers West. Also 7 rebounds to lead the team, 1.5 assists, and half a steal. And rounding out the starting five for Central City is the man in the middle. That is Marcus Shellhorn, the 6'4 senior, averaging nearly 4 points per game, shooting better than 50% from the floor, 5.5 rebounds, a steal, and half a block. So we are just about set to go here from Coe College, Dunkerton, and Central City. Getting set to go here in a little under 1 minute. The Raiders over to my right getting their final warm-up shots, have some really nice red and white striped warm-up pants, almost Indiana Hoosier style. Wildcats over to my left, also getting their final warm-up shots up before we will get underway. Again, the Raiders come in 12-0, 8-0 in the Iowa Star North, had a dominant victory over Waterloo Christian last night. Central City 10-5, 6-2 in the Tri-Rivers West. They won last night as well over Starmont, but it wasn't nearly as dominant as one would hope against a struggling Starmont team. Final last night was 53-38. And we are just about set to go. Game 2 of an all-day schedule here. Game 1 tipped off at 10:30, and the final game of the day is not set to tip off until 7:30. So we are in for a full day of basketball here at Coe College, and very excited to provide you with coverage of Central City's game here this afternoon. Scheduled for a 12 o'clock tip. We'll get started right about just on time, as we'll meet the starting lineups here in a moment. Once the public address announcer here at Cohawk Arena reads the starters, I will follow along as we are just about set to go. This is game 2 of the day. In game 1, Mediapolis was taking on Durant. Durant Wildcats took down the Mediapolis Bulldogs in the opening game. Central City out of the Tri-Rivers West taking on Dunkerton out of the Iowa Star North. 4th year in a row these teams have met up. Central City trailing the series 2-1, having lost 2 in a row. Wildcats coached by first-year head coach Ryan Turner, and Dunkerton led by 15th-year head coach Todd Kuntz. Now I will follow along with the starting lineups. For the Wildcats, a 5'10 sophomore, number 1, Matthew Klosterman. For the Raiders, a 6'1 senior, number 1, Braden Van Lengen. For the Wildcats, a 5'10 junior, number 10, Aiden Klosterman. For the Raiders, a 6'1 sophomore, number 3, Dylan Marquardt. For the Wildcats, a 5'11 junior, number 13, Jaden Hansen. For the Raiders, a 5'11 sophomore, number 5, Noah Fueling. For the Wildcats, a 6'3 junior, number 23, Makai Benton. For the Raiders, a 6'3 senior, number 23, Preston Gillespie. For the Wildcats, a 6'4 senior, number 34, Marcus Shellhorn. And for the Raiders, a 6'1 junior, number 42, Jacob Snyder. Assistant coach for the Wildcats is John McGovern. First-year head coach is Ryan Turner. Assistant coaches for the Raiders are Derek Hobson, Dan Kniebel, and Bryce Rigdon. 15th-year head coach is Todd Kuntz. One more time, your starters, Van Lengen, Marquardt, Fueling, Gillespie, and Snyder for the Raiders. Klosterman, Hansen, Benton, and Shellhorn for Central City. Wildcats wearing their road blacks. Wildcats across the chest in white numerals with red, black, and white trim. Raiders are wearing their home white uniforms this afternoon. Raiders across the chest in a very light, almost pink type red. Also that same almost pink type color down the sides. And they've got gray numerals with that pinkish red trim. So Casey Gardner not in the starting 5 for Dunkerton. That's certainly something to watch. The leading assist man in the state of Iowa. Gillespie and Marcus Shellhorn will jump center to begin this ball game. We are underway. Opening tap controlled by the Raiders. Raiders working left to right here as Fueling has it in the corner. Out to Snyder. Now they go top of the key to Dylan Marquardt. 16.5 points per game for the sophomore. He gives it high post to Gillespie, guarded by Makai Benton. Inside, good cut, but the layup's no good from Snyder, and it's rebounded by Matthew Klosterman. He will bring it up for Central City, crossing into the front court. He has it on the right wing. Matthew, looking the court over, picks up his dribble, gets it into the corner to Aiden Klosterman. Makai Benton inside the three-point line, sizing things up, over to Hansen, top of the key, left wing to Matthew Klosterman. Matthew going to work inside, throws one up, it's tipped, no good, out of bounds, last touched by by Dunkerton. Will stay with Central City with 12 on the shot clock. Matthew Klosterman will throw it in, everybody else in a box around the paint. Now Matthew has to go jog over and grab the basketball. That'll help. And he will throw it in. Scoreless here, less than a minute in. Inbounds pass goes to Benton, top of the key. Benton taking his time, 8 on the shot clock. Over to Aiden Klosterman, inside to Benton. Good find, throws it up there, and that is good. Makai Benton gets the scoring started. His first basket of the ball game for the third leading scorer in the Tri-Rivers Conference. It's 2-0. A minute gone in this game. And for the Raiders, Dylan Marquardt steps out of bounds along the baseline, and it goes back to Central City. A minute gone, it's 2-0 Wildcats. Makai Benton scores off an assist from Aiden Klosterman. Matthew Klosterman bringing it up for Central City. The 5'10 sophomore, averaging 13.5 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists per night, has the top of the key. Matthew dribbling right, handoff to Benton. Now a handoff to Aiden Klosterman, top of the key. Picks up his dribble, goes over to Matthew, right wing. Use the screen, now goes the other way. Dumps it down to Benton. He's double-teamed inside. Tries to step through, throws one up off the glass. That is good. Couple of defenders in his face, but Benton gets the basket to go. 4 points for him. It's 4-0 Central City. 90 seconds gone in the ballgame. Marquardt bringing it up for the Raiders. Has the top of the key, dribbling to his left. Now left wing, guarded by Aiden Klosterman. Goes top of the key to Fueling, now right wing to Snyder. Snyder driving the baseline, throws one over there to Marquardt in the left corner. He's driving in, stops in the paint, passes it out to Fueling right wing. Back to Marquardt, top of the key for a straight-on triple. That is off the mark. Gillespie tries to save it, does so. Inside to Van Lengen, and he puts it up. Braden Van Lengen gets the scoring started for Dunkerton. It's 4-2 Central City. Matthew Klosterman bringing it up for the Wildcats. Has it on the right wing. Swings it over to Hansen, now left wing to Aiden Klosterman. Inside to Matthew Klosterman. Matthew will post up in there. Double team comes, throws it up. It's blocked and rebounded by the Raiders. Fueling has it right wing, give to Marquardt. Marquardt inside to Gillespie. He'll spin, stops, throws one up, and he's fouled. Foul called on the inside, and Preston Gillespie will go to the line to shoot a pair for the Raiders. Foul is called on Jaden Hansen. That is his first and the team's first. On the year, Gillespie a 70% free throw shooter. He is the 5th best free throw shooter in the Iowa Star Conference. First one is on the way. That is good. And the 27.5 point per game score, his first point, and the first sub of the ball game is Braden Rickles for Central City. He replaces Jaden Hansen. One more free throw upcoming from Gillespie. It's 4-3 Central City. Gillespie with the free throw. That is off the mark, too strong off back iron. He goes 1 of 2, and Marcus Shellhorn clears the rebound, gives to Matthew Klosterman. Matthew jogging it up for Central City, crossing the timeline, has it right wing into the corner to Aiden Klosterman. Open triple for Aiden. He knocks it down. Aiden Klosterman, who's come alive since Christmas from the three-point line, drains it, and the Wildcats lead 7-3. Gillespie with the basketball, going inside, dumps it down to Snyder. He gives it back out to Van Lengen. He will try to get one to Gillespie, in and out of the hands. Was not expecting the pass, came in hot. It's out of bounds and goes to Central City. Wildcats on top 7-3. 3 minutes gone in the opening quarter here from Cohawk Arena. Matthew Klosterman walking it up for Central City. Has it top of the key. Gives it over to Benton. Now gives it to Aiden Klosterman, top of the key. Over to Matthew Klosterman on the right wing, guarded by Gillespie. Uses the screen, now has Marquardt on him. Over to Aiden Klosterman. Thought about another triple, he'll go inside, stops, dump down to Braden Rickles. He can't handle the pass, in and out of his hands. Goes to Dunkerton, Marquardt looking to run, gets to the hoop, throws it up, no good off the backboard, but it's tipped and rebounded by Van Lengen. Marquardt will take a left corner three, leaves it just a touch short, off the side of the rim, and rebounded by Matthew Klosterman. Matthew has it right wing. Dribbling around, spins, stops, thought about pulling up, but gives it over to Benton, top of the key. He squares up and gives it back to Matthew Klosterman. Matthew, dribbling to his right, going on the inside, stops in the paint, now out to Benton, top of the key. 15 on the shot clock, Benton, pull-up jumper from the free throw line, that is good. Benton with 6 points to lead all scorers. It's 9-3 Central City. Gillespie has it on the right wing. Now dribbles over top of the key, guarded by Benton. Tough assignment for Benton. He's done well so far. Early on, just halfway through this first quarter. Marquardt driving in on Benton, throws one up in the paint, no good. And an offensive foul is called, and it goes the other way. Offensive foul called on Dylan Marquardt. That is his first foul. Team foul number 1. Goes back to Central City. First subs of the game are in for the Raiders. Couple of subs in here. Mason Mickles, a 5'9 sophomore, into the game, as well as Dalton Weepy, a 6'2 sophomore, averaging 2.5 points per night. Matthew Klosterman crossing the timeline for Central City, has the top of the key, goes right wing to Braden Rickles. Now Aiden Klosterman, top of the key. Gives it into the elbow to Makai Benton. Benton trying to go to work, kicks it out to Matthew Klosterman, dribbling right. Gives it over to Aiden Klosterman, top of the key. Fakes the three, steps back, gives it back to his brother on the right wing. Matthew with the basketball. 10 on the shot clock for Central City. Matthew step back to Benton. Thought about a deep three-pointer. Now going to try to work inside. Throws one up. Very difficult shot. High degree of difficulty, but had to throw it in at the shot clock buzzer, winding down. And on the other end, a wide open layup. Beautiful assist from Gillespie. He finds Noah Fueling. His layup is his first basket of the ball game, and it is 9-5 Central City. 3 minutes to play in the opening quarter. Matthew Klosterman gives it to Aiden Klosterman, right wing. Over to Rickles. looking for somewhere to go with it, dribbling right, nearly loses the basketball, and then instead goes inside, throws one up on the inside, and Braden Rickles, in quick fashion, goes from a turnover to a bucket. Matthew Klosterman steals it on the other end, dumps it down to Aiden Klosterman, and that basket is good. Wildcats get 4 quick ones. It's 13-5 Central City. Preston Gillespie has the top of the key, guarded by Makai Benton, calling for a screen, gets one, going in, throws one up on the inside. His basket is good, but it's an offensive foul. Marcus Shellhorn holds his ground, takes the charge, and that foul on Gillespie is his first, team second. Both have been of the offensive variety. 2.5 to go here in the opening quarter. It's 13-5 Central City over the 6th-ranked team in the state of Iowa for Class 1A. Matthew Klosterman into the front court for Central City. Dribbling to his right, has it on the right wing. He will just take a pull-up three-pointer. That is going to be no good. Nearly took a fortunate roll, but it's no good. And that pass from Gillespie is stolen away by Braden Rickles. Rickles gives it over to Matthew Klosterman. He has it at the top of the key. 2 minutes to go in the opening quarter, 13-5 Central City. Matthew trying to drive in. Gets it over to Aiden Klosterman. He'll take a straight-on triple. That is off the mark, but Benton with the offensive rebound. His putback is good. Benton with a great start to his game. He's got 8 already, and we've got a timeout on the floor. Coach Kuntz calls the timeout. It is a full 60-second timeout. 1:51 to go in the opening quarter. It is Central City 15 and Dunkerton 5. So the Raiders call the timeout. It is a full 60-second timeout here from Cohawk Arena. So the Wildcats start fast. They lead 15-5. Is worth noting for Dunkerton. They are apparently missing 2 starters. Jaden Downs, a 5'9 senior, averaging 3 points and a couple of rebounds a night, is not in the lineup. But more importantly, their outstanding star point guard Casey Gardner, the leading assist man in the entire state of Iowa, appears to be on the bench in a sling on his arm. So that's a problem for the Raiders, not just for today, but going down the stretch. Hate to see that happen, a team losing their star player, so hopefully he will be all right. But as of right now, Central City on top of the Raiders, 15-5, a little under 2 minutes to go in the opening quarter here from Cohawk Arena on the campus of Coe College in Cedar Rapids. Wildcats with the Klostermans, Benton, Rickles, and Shellhorn on the floor out of the timeout. It'll be Dunkerton basketball, 90 feet away from the hoop. Raiders working left to right here in the first half. Wildcats working right to left. I'm positioned here on the concourse at Coe College's Cohawk Arena, right directly at the half-court line. Outstanding spot. Can't say thank you enough to the outstanding folks that helped organize this event and helped me get an outstanding seat. Three-pointer on the way from Fueling is off the mark. Rebounded by Matthew Klosterman. He wants to run. Not slowing down whatsoever. Spins on the inside, throws it up. Wild shot off the mark. Plenty of white jerseys in there in the paint, and the shot's no good. Weepy with the ball for the Raiders. Swings it to Snyder, right wing. Shellhorn in there. Rickles, great job taking it away. It's tipped. It will go out of bounds off the Raiders and goes to Central City. Rickles was guarding Preston Gillespie from behind. Jumped up, took it away, poked it out. It goes back to Central City for the Raiders. Dylan Marquardt back into the game, replacing Noah Fueling. Matthew Klosterman bringing it up for the Wildcats. Minute 15 to go in the opening quarter. Matthew has it at the free throw line, double teamed, picks it up over to Makai Benton, top of the key. Gives it to Shellhorn in the right wing, gives it back to Matthew, top of the key. Matthew dribbling in, stops, back to Benton. Straight on triple on the way from Makai Benton. He finds the bottom. Makai with 11 first quarter points, and it's 18-5 Central City. 25 on the shot clock, 45 on the game clock here in the opening quarter. Marquardt gives it over to Snyder, top of the key. Trying to go inside, finds Gillespie. Working in there, double team comes, Benton and Shellhorn works through it, and the and one is good as Makai Benton's going to be called for the foul, and Preston Gillespie gets his first field goal of the game, and he will now shoot one free throw. Foul on Makai Benton, his first, team second, and Jaden Hansen back into the ballgame for Central City. He replaces Marcus Shellhorn for the final 37 seconds of this first quarter. Gillespie will shoot one free throw. He had an earlier trip where he went 1 of 1. Free throw on the way from Gillespie. That rattles out no good, and Rickles pulls in the rebound. Matthew Klosterman way down the floor to Hansen. He's going to go inside, tries to find Aiden Klosterman, out of bounds, was not touched by the Raiders. Goes to Central City. Coach Turner certainly didn't like that turnover, especially with the quarter nearly coming to an end. Wildcats could have essentially held for one shot. Noah Fueling back into the game for the Raiders. He replaces Dalton Weepy. Preston Gillespie bringing it up for the Raiders. 25 seconds to go in the opening quarter. Shot clock has been turned off as Dylan Marquardt has the basketball now. Right about midcourt, now driving in. Uses the screen right. Gives it over to Mickles in the right wing. Left wing now to Fueling. Fakes the triple, nearly lost the basketball. Inside to Gillespie. He will stop, goes up. Benton nearly got his second foul of the quarter, but was not called. Matthew Klosterman into the front court. Has it right wing, over to Hansen. He will drive the baseline, throws one up at the buzzer, but it's blocked from behind. And that will do it for the opening quarter here from Coe College. Wildcats with an outstanding opening quarter of play, and they are on top of Dunkerton after 8 minutes by a score of 18-7. Here's a look at the first quarter scoring numbers. First for the Wildcats, Makai Benton had an outstanding opening 8 minutes, 11 points for the junior, one foul on him as well. 5 points came from Aiden Klosterman. Braden Rickles pitched in 2 as well. For Dunkerton, Preston Gillespie had 3 points in the opening quarter. Braden Van Lengen and Noah Fueling both had 2. Looking at the fouls, there weren't too many, just a couple of fouls on either side. Preston Gillespie was called for one, as was Dylan Marquardt for the Raiders. For the Wildcats, Makai Benton and Jaden Hansen both whistled for one foul in the opening quarter of play. So I mentioned the outstanding star point guard for the Raiders, Casey Gardner, not on the floor today, which is a big blow for the Raiders. But the Wildcats do lead this one 18-7. Castor Abernathy into the game to begin the second quarter for Central City. Abernathy, a 6'1 junior, averaging 1.5 points per game. Aside him are the Klostermans, Benton, and Shellhorn. Raiders on the floor as well, and we are set to go here for the second quarter. Wildcat basketball first. Abernathy inbounds to Matthew Klosterman. He has the top of the key. Gives it to Abernathy, left wing. Dribbling to his right. Gives it over to Matthew Klosterman. He'll take a corner three-pointer. Misses everything, left it short. Benton offensive rebound, however, and his putback is good. They say that the air ball is the hardest shot in basketball to rebound if you're the defensive team. Benton proved that saying right and gets the putback. Marquardt has it on the left wing. Now goes top of the key. 30 seconds gone here in the second quarter. 20-7 Central City. Preston Gillespie driving in on Benton. A couple of outstanding number 23s this afternoon. And Dunkerton's 23. Gillespie gets the better of it that time. He's got 5 points to lead the Raiders. It's 20-9. Matthew Klosterman has it at the top of the key. Dribbling to his right. Guarded by Fueling. Now he'll turn the corner, go inside, gives to Benton. Benton has it poked loose, but right back to Matthew Klosterman. Matthew uses a screen, fakes the pull-up jumper, swings it out to Shellhorn. Into the corner, Aiden Klosterman for a triple. That's off the mark and rebounded by Fueling. Fueling gives it over to Gillespie, who will cross into the front court for the Raiders. Has the top of the key, driving in, over to Fueling left wing. Fueling has it taken away. Matthew Klosterman took it from him that time, and he will jog it up for Central City. Has it at the top of the key, right wing to Benton. Fakes the triple, guarded closely by Fueling, gives it over to Shellhorn. Now Abernathy with the basketball. Hands it off to Aiden Klosterman. He'll take a three-pointer. That's off the mark, and it's rebounded by Marquardt. Marquardt gives it to Fueling. Now right back to Marquardt. He will go baseline. Nice dump-down pass. Snyder is no good on the layup, but he is fouled. And Jacob Snyder will shoot a couple of free throws for the Raiders. Third team foul on Central City, as Snyder, a 50% free throw shooter, will shoot 2. Believe that foul was on Marcus Shellhorn, as Snyder's no good in the first. That is Shellhorn's first, and again, team foul number 3. Jacob Snyder will shoot one more. 20-9 our score, as the second free throw is short off front of the rim, but it's offensive rebound picked up by Van Lengen. And the Raiders get another possession. Fueling for 3. No. Rebound on the backside by Aiden Klosterman. Matthew Klosterman bringing it up for Central City. A couple minutes gone here in the second quarter. It's 20-9 Wildcats. Aiden Klosterman dribbling right. Going inside. Dump down to Shellhorn. Finds himself wide open. Beautiful assist. And Marcus Shellhorn gets his first basket of the night. It is 22-9. Gillespie has it top of the key, dribbling to his left. Gives it into the corner to Marquardt, driving baseline, dumps it down to Van Langen. He puts it up from the paint. He gets it to go down. Braden Van Langen has 4 points for the Raiders. It is 22-11, 5:40 to play until the half. Matthew Klosterman has it right wing for Central City. Handoff goes to Benton. Benton dribbling to his left, getting inside the paint, picks it up, throws up a floater, no good, tips his own rebound, but it's picked up by Van Langen. Van Langen into the front court for the Raiders, gives it over to Marquardt left wing, fakes the triple, driving in, picks it up, in some trouble, dumped down to Gillespie. Makai Benton fell asleep at that time, but Gillespie misses the layup, and it's rebounded by Marcus Shellhorn. Matthew Klosterman has it left wing. Going between the legs, now going baseline. Good drive, throws it up, too strong, no good. Rebound picked up by Matthew, stole it away. His putback's no good. Out of bounds, off of the Raiders. Will stay with Central City. 5 minutes to go until the half. 22-11 Wildcats, 32 on the shot clock. And back into the game for the Raiders is Dalton Weepy, replacing Jacob Snyder. Matthew will inbound for the Wildcats. Gets it into Abernathy. Just left of straight on, now over to Benton. Now right wing to Aiden Klosterman. Aiden gives it to Matthew, top of the key. Now back to Benton on the left wing. Benton uses a screen from Abernathy. Dump down to Abernathy, right back to Benton. He throws it up, and that is going to be an offensive foul, and that was the correct call. Preston Gillespie did a great job of standing in and taking a charge. That is Makai's second and the team's fourth. And Braden Rickles is back into the game for Central City. And with 2 fouls, Coach Turner will get Benton out of the game. 22-11 our score, 4:45 to go until the half. Wildcats on top of the Raiders here from Coe College. Marquardt has the basketball, gives it over to Gillespie, top of the key. Dribbling to his right, good take inside, but lost the basketball. It's tipped, still loose, picked up by Aiden Klosterman. Aiden gives it to Matthew, crossing into the front court. He has it on the right wing. Swings it over. Aiden Klosterman left alone for a triple. That one rattles out, however, and Gillespie gets the rebound. Trying to go down the floor to Weepy. Finds him. Throws one up off balance. No good. Aiden Klosterman secures the rebound. Matthew looking the floor over. Tries to find Rickles, but a little off the mark on that pass, and Van Langen takes it away. Gillespie into the corner. Marquardt, left corner, triple on the way. That is good. Dylan Marquardt drains it. That's his first basket. And Coach Turner calls the timeout with the Raiders starting to creep back into this one. A full 60-second timeout called by the Wildcats. Both teams have used one full 60-second timeout. 3:57 to go in the second quarter. Our score, Central City 22 and Dunkerton 14. While we've got a moment here, I'll give a shout out to our sponsor, Heartland Bank. Heartland Bank is here to provide the kind of services to keep community in banking. That means working with local businesses to provide funding to help them grow and giving guidance and support when you're ready to purchase your first home. Heartland Bank, we're here for you. It's the Wildcats leading here 22-14 halfway through our second quarter. Makai Benton leading the way with 13 points, but he does have 2 fouls. Wouldn't be surprised if he sat until halftime. Alongside him for the Wildcats has been Aiden Klosterman. He's got 5, and Braden Rickles has 2 points for Central City. It's been Makai Benton doing a lot of the work. He's having an outstanding game. Also have Marcus Shellhorn with 2 points for Central City to round out their scoring. For the Raiders, Preston Gillespie has 5, Braden Van Langen with 4, Dylan Marquardt with 3, and Noah Fueling with 2. Wildcat basketball out of the timeout. It's the Klostermans, Abernathy, Shellhorn, and Rickles. Matthew Klosterman walking it up for Central City. Double team comes, half-court trap, picks up his dribble, in some trouble. Hands it off to Aiden Klosterman, dribbling right. Gets it into Shellhorn in the corner. And we got a conversation now between one of the officials and a Raider assistant coach. We got a technical. We've got a technical foul called on one of the Raider assistants. So the Wildcats will have their 85% free throw shooter Aiden Klosterman shoot 2 technicals. Everybody else goes to the backcourt. Aiden, third best free throw shooter in the conference, 85% on the season. First one on the way. That one is good. Aiden's got half a dozen here tonight, and it's 23-14, I should say today, as Aiden will shoot one more. And it will be Wildcat basketball after this, remember. Second one on the way from Aiden. That one's perfect. Makes both. He's got 7. Wildcats by 10 here, 24-14, and they keep possession of the basketball. It looked like that technical went against a Raider assistant. And so we'll stay with Central City. 20 on the shot clock. And they're going to, looks like, reset it and put a full 35, I believe was the indication I just saw, and that is what happened. Full 35 seconds on the shot clock, 3:45 to go until the break. 24-14 Wildcats, and it is Central City basketball. Matthew Klosterman into the front court for the Wildcats. He has it on the right wing now. Gives it over to Aiden Klosterman, left wing. Aiden goes between the legs, dribbling to his right, stops at the free throw line, in some trouble. Tries to find Braden Rickles, but he turns it over, claps his hands in frustration, and it goes back to Dunkerton. So the Wildcats get the free throws after the technical, but can't make it a bigger possession than just the 2 points. And the Raiders have it back, 3.5 to go until the break. Preston Gillespie into the front court for Dunkerton, has it on the left wing, guarded by Abernathy. Benton, remember, on the bench with 2 fouls. Double screens come. Gillespie over to Marquardt, left wing. Fakes the triple, driving in for a pull-up jumper. No good, a little too strong. Rebound by Gillespie in the paint. Put back is no good. Shellhorn can't secure the rebound, goes out of play. It will stay with the Raiders. Nearly a full shot clock here at 31 seconds. Gillespie will inbound it for the Raiders. Everybody else lines up in a single file line on the left side of the paint. We do have a sub for Central City as Dayton Price getting some early run here tonight. Price, a 6-foot junior, 2.5 points per game for him. Alongside 3 rebounds, he replaces Braden Rickles. With a little bit of foul trouble, Wildcats will go to one of their reserve post players. 3-pointer on the way from Marquardt out of the inbounds play is no good, but Gillespie gets the offensive board, dumps it down, and Matthew Klosterman is going to be called for the foul as Dalton Weepy will shoot 2. Foul is Matthews' first. It is team foul number 5. And at the line for the Raiders will be Dalton Weepy. The sophomore is averaging 2.5 points per game and is a 50% free throw shooter so far this season. First one is on the way. Too strong off the back iron. He'll get one more. Score remains 24-14 Wildcats. 3 minutes till the break here from Cedar Rapids. Second free throw on the way from Weepy. That one is good. Stays true to his 50% mark on the year and goes 1 of 2. His first point of the game. It's 24-15. Full court press here from the Raiders. The Klostermans working together to get into the front court. Price has it left wing. Is tripped up but no foul. Over to Matthew Klosterman into the corner to Abernathy. Dumped down to Price. Wasn't ready for it. It's a turnover. Taken away by Van Lengen. Up ahead to Marquardt. Aiden Klosterman pokes it out of bounds. It will stay with the Raiders. 2:45 to play until the half. 29 on the shot clock. Again, 24-15 our score. As Dylan Marquardt will throw it in for Dunkerton. Now they will switch it up and Noah Fueling will throw it in. Inbounds pass goes to Gillespie at the right elbow. Driving in on Shellhorn, lays it up inside the paint and gets it to go. Gillespie with 7 points, and the Raiders have it back to a 7-point game here, 24-17. Wildcats need a bucket here. Matthew Klosterman has the top of the key, left wing to Aiden Klosterman. High post to Price, top of the key to Abernathy, dribbling right, going inside. Abernathy over to Aiden Klosterman at the free throw line. Matthew fakes the triple. Driving in over to Shellhorn. He'll take a left corner 3-pointer. That is good off the bank from the corner. Marcus Shellhorn with your prototypical corner bank 3, and the Wildcats lead is 10. Left wing to Weepy. Gives it over to Gillespie. He's trying to drive in on Matthew Klosterman. Fueling has him in the corner. Back to Van Lengen. Gillespie, top of the key, guarded by Price. Uses the screen. Shellhorn switched onto him. Fueling in the corner. Driving baseline. Stops. Throws one up, and that is good. Beautiful finish on the inside by the sophomore. He's got 4. 27-19 our score. Minute 45 until the break. Wildcats on top here at Coe College. Matthew Klosterman into the front court. Handoff goes to Abernathy, dribbling left. Hands it off to Aiden Klosterman. Over to Matthew Klosterman, right wing. Fakes the triple. Uses a screen from Price. Goes the other way. Gets it out to Abernathy, top of the key. 12 on the shot clock. Abernathy, nice pass to Shellhorn. Doesn't take the 3. Finds Aiden Klosterman open. His 3's too strong off back iron and rebounded by Gillespie. Gillespie looking to run for the Raiders. Gives it left wing, to Marquardt. His triple is just off the mark. Beautiful rebound by Dayton Price with a little out of control, but secures it and finds a guard in Matthew Klosterman. Full court press here from the Raiders. Matthew trying to handle it. Across the timeline, and it is 10-second violation, and Coach Turner is hot off the bench, yelling at his point guard. Did not like to see the turnover. Minutes to go until the break, 27-19, Central City. And Mekhi Benton back into the game for the Wildcats. He is playing with 2 fouls, remember. Got to be careful here. He replaces Dayton Price. Dylan Marquardt bringing it up for the Raiders. Has the top of the key. Goes high post to Snyder. Trying to find Gillespie. Instead goes to Marquardt on the perimeter. Fakes the pass, drives inside. Great move by Marquardt. He's got 5. It's 27-21. Matthew Klosterman over to Castor Abernathy. He's double teamed. Finds Aiden Klosterman. Over to Benton. He will go inside, and a block is called. Block is going to go against Jacob Snyder. That'll be his first foul. Looks like team foul number 4. Was not a shooting foul, but we'll stay with Central City. Just a .2 differential between the shot and game clock, and Coach Turner going to get Benton out of there as he nearly picked up his 3rd. Braden Rickles back into the game. Wildcats can essentially hold for 1 here as the inbounds pass goes to Castor Abernathy. He'll give it back to Matthew Klosterman. Less than a half-second difference between the shot and game clock. Rickles has it in the right wing. Dribbling left, picks it up over to Aiden Klosterman, right corner. Matthew somehow is shoved to the ground, gets back up. Abernathy dribbling, trying to get inside. His pass is tipped and stolen away. Weepy sends it down the floor. It's a race for it, picked up by Marquardt. He will go inside, dumps it down, but it's taken away by Aiden Klosterman. 5 seconds to go in the half. Aiden Klosterman into the front court, gives it to Matthew Klosterman. He will chuck one up at the buzzer. That's off the mark. And the foul is not called. Matthew took some contact, but they're not going to call a foul, and that will do it for the opening half of play. So after 2 quarters here from Cohawk Arena, it is Central City 27 and Dunkerton 21. Raiders playing a little short-handed here today. The Wildcats lead it by 6 here at the break. Let's take a look at some scoring numbers from the opening half. It was an outstanding first half from Makai Benton, who didn't really play much in that second quarter due to having 2 fouls. Benton had 13 first half points. Marcus Shellhorn had 5. Aiden Klosterman pitched in 7. And Braden Rickles added 2 for Central City. Matthew Klosterman, Central City's second leading scorer, 13.5 points per game, did not score in the opening half. For Dunkerton, they were led by their leader all year, Preston Gillespie. He had 7 first half points, but it was a pretty balanced scoring effort for the Raiders. Dylan Marquardt added 5, 4 each from Braden Van Lengen and Noah Fueling. And Dalton Weepy pitched in 1 point for the Raiders. Again, it is 27-21 here at the halfway point of this game. Between Central City and Dunkerton, Raiders ranked 6th in Class 1A, a perfect 12-0 record on the year. Wildcats come in 10-5, 6-2 in the Tri-Rivers West after picking up a win over Starmont last night in Arlington. I mentioned these scores around the conference on the boys' side earlier during the pregame, but now let's take a look at some of the results from the girls last night. First at Alburnett, the Pirates took down Edgewood Colesburg 61-52. Maquoketa Valley hosted East Buchanan, but it was the Buccaneers getting the win, 43-40, getting the road victory. Over at Starmont, Central City had an outstanding performance, beating the Stars 86-50, and junior Bailey Weber pitched in 46 points, which is a new school record. So congratulations to Bailey on that outstanding performance last night in the win over the Stars. And then in the final West Side game at Springville, the Lynx were pushed by the Orioles but did come away with a victory 59-44. On the east side last night, Calamus-Wheatland hosted Midland in a low-scoring affair. They got the win 31-24. And then 2 other games were in action. Prince of Peace at Lisbon and Marquette Catholic at North Cedar, but do not have scores posted from either of those matchups last night in Tri-Rivers East play. I did mention this is just game 2 of a full day of action here at Cohawk Arena. Earlier today, Durant took down Mediapolis in the opener. Right now, we've got Central City and Dunkerton with the Wildcats leading by 6 at the break. Another action throughout the rest of the day. We've got a couple of Tri-Rivers teams coming up in the next couple of games. Next up after this, 1A 10th-ranked Marquette Catholic will take on Don Bosco, the Mohawks and the Dons. Then at 3 o'clock, the Cascade Cougars take on 2A 7th-ranked team, the Alburnett Pirates. Scheduled for 4:30, it'll be a big class matchup in 4A between a couple of MVC foes, the Linn-Mar Lions and the Cedar Rapids Prairie Hawks. At 6 o'clock, the 4A 9th-ranked Pleasant Valley Spartans take on the Ames Little Cyclones. A couple of teams driving quite some distance to be here today. And then in the final game of today's action will be Iowa City Liberty, the Lightning, taking on the Fairfield Trojans. That is scheduled for a 7:30 tip-off. A little under 5 minutes to go here in the halftime break. Again, our score is 27-21. Central City on top of the Raiders by 6. David Warrington here with you this afternoon from Cohawk Arena. A little more about today's venue. It is the home for Coe College in volleyball, men's and women's basketball, and wrestling. Pretty new building, just opened back in 2017, and it can hold a capacity of 1,600 fans here in Cohawk Arena. Really nice gym for the Division III Coe College Cohawks, and has been a great host to the action both last year and so far today at the Wells Fargo Advisors Shootout. It is the 5th annual Wells Fargo Advisors Shootout event. The Wildcats have played in 3 times, and this is I believe, the 3rd home that the event has had. They started at what is now the Alliant Energy Powerhouse, was then the U.S. Cellular Center in downtown Cedar Rapids. Then they moved to Cedar Rapids Kennedy High School, where I played back in 2020. Wildcats took down Edgewood Colesburg in this event. And then in 2021, or 22, I'm sorry, the event took place here at Coe College. Wildcats got the victory at that time last year, a dominant win over Columbus. Through a half, they're beating Dunkerton 27-21, but the Raiders did end the half on a bit of a run. Wildcats had their lead cut into. We're up by 11 after a quarter. Now just a 6-point differential. The Wildcats have to play a better second half than they did in that second quarter. Hopefully for them, they can look more like they did in the first quarter as they try to win this ball game. A little under 3 minutes here in the halftime break. This is an abbreviated halftime. Generally, it is 10 minutes for varsity action, but these teams getting just 8. I'm sure both teams ready to get back on the floor anyways. Do see some Wildcat alums in the crowd here today. Trey Hollab, who just finished up his senior year on the Coe College football team. Marshall Vandevet also in the house, and Gage Westfall, stepbrother to the Klosterman boys, also in the house here today. Good to see some former Wildcat basketball players in the house. And we will be back underway here in about 2 minutes and 15 seconds. Neither team's made their way back out here. Both have plenty to talk about here during the break. With this close ball game we have, just a 6-point lead for the Raiders, or for the Wildcats, excuse me. Oh, and now Gage Westfall is out on the floor. And it sounds like he needs to make a layup, a free throw, and a three-pointer. Gage gets the first part out of the way, throws off the sunglasses. Going to try a little better without the shades. Free throw, no good on the first one. Little halftime challenge here for former Wildcat Gage Westfall. Drains his second attempt at a free throw, and now needs to make a triple. He'll go from straight on, grazes front of the rim on the first. Westfall takes the second, misses everything on that one. He's got 8 seconds. Westfall, triple, on the way, short off front of the rim. Probably time for one more shot here, 2 seconds. Westfall chucks it, and he drains it. Gage Westfall beats the buzzer, and he gets it to go. Fun little halftime shootout here as Gage, here to watch his stepbrothers Aiden and Matthew Klosterman, steps up for an impromptu little shooting competition. Makes the layup, free throw, and three-pointer, beating the buzzer on his third attempt at a triple. Both teams are now back on the floor. Under a minute to go until we begin the third quarter here from Cedar Rapids, Coe College at Cohawk Arena. Wildcats leading by 6. They'll need to play a little better than they did in the second quarter, however, if they want to come away with a victory over a short-handed but still really talented Dunkerton basketball team. They're ranked 6th and undefeated for a reason, even if they are missing their star point guard. Possession arrow is favoring the Raiders, who will work right to left in the third quarter. Wildcats will work left to right here in the third quarter of play. And now Coach Turner is checking on something over at the scorer's table. Starters are out there for the Wildcats to begin the second half. It's the Klostermans with Hanson, Shellhorn, and Benton. Rickles will play off the bench. 8 minutes on the clock. Once the Raiders are back out there, we will be set to go for second half action. It looks like the Raiders will also start the second half at the same five at the start of the game. Van Lengen, Marquardt, Fueling, Gillespie, and Snyder. Raider basketball first. They'll work right to left. Gillespie inbounds to Snyder, who has it at the top of the key for Dunkerton. Gives it high post to Gillespie. It's poked loose but picked back up by Gillespie. Got a stoppage. The shot clock was not running. Good job by the official to notice that right away and make sure it didn't become a problem. 7 seconds ran off the game clock, so there should be 28 on the shot clock. Trying to get everything figured out here. It's the first year of the shot clock in prep basketball in the state of Iowa. I've very much been a fan. Hasn't affected the game in a huge way, but has gotten rid of the intentional holding of the basketball in late close games, which is always something I like to see. And overall, it's just brought a better product onto the floor, in my opinion. Now they have reset both the shot and game clock and are running it down, but it's still off. We'll see how long this takes. The shot clock is now accurate, but the game clock is not. It's at 28 seconds on the shot clock, but it's a full 8 minutes set to the game clock. So they need 7 seconds off the game clock now. Coach Kuntz giving his team a message here before we try to restart play in the second half. And I think they're just going to call a mulligan, and we'll just try everything over again. So starting the second half once again, inbounds pass goes to Fueling, has the top of the key, uses the screen. He's tripped up, and it's picked up by Matthew Klosterman on the turnover. Matthew into the front court for Central City. Gives it over to Hansen, right wing, driving baseline, but they're going to say he traveled first. Turned over by the Wildcats and goes back to the Raiders. 7:45 to go in the third quarter. 27-21 Central City is our score as Dylan Marquardt crosses the timeline for the Raiders, has the top of the key guarded by Matthew Klosterman. Goes left wing to Fueling, dribbling to his right. Gives it back to Van Lengen, now right wing to Marquardt. Top of the key to Gillespie. Now over to Snyder, left wing. He uses the screen, gets it out to Van Lengen. Back to Fueling. 12 on the shot clock. Marquardt has it left wing, uses the screen, steps into a triple, and he drains it. Dylan Marquardt drains his second triple of the game. He's got 8 points. It's a one-possession basketball game here, 27-24 Wildcats. Matthew Klosterman gives it over to Aiden Klosterman, right wing. Top of the key to Hansen. Left wing to Matthew Klosterman. Inside to Aiden Klosterman now. And it's taken away. Aiden turns it over to Gillespie. He'll look to run into the front court, throws one up, but he's fouled from behind by Jaden Hansen. That'll be Central City's first foul of the half. That is Hansen's second. And Gillespie will shoot two. A minute gone here in the third quarter, and the Raiders can get it as close as a 1-point game with Gillespie shooting two. Gillespie 7 points so far today. On the year, a 70% free throw shooter. First one is good, rattles home. He's got 8. And Gillespie will shoot one more. 27-25 our score. Wildcats scored 18 points in the first quarter, but only 9 points since, and none here so far in the second half. Second free throw on the way from Gillespie. That one is good. He makes both. Give him 9 for the game, and the Wildcats' lead has been trimmed down to 1. 27-26. Minute 15 gone in the second half. Matthew Klosterman has it left wing. Double team comes, gets it over to Aiden. Dumped down to Jaden Hansen. It's blocked by Snyder. Picked up by Van Lengen. Raiders could take the lead on this possession. Down the floor to Snyder. He dumps it into Gillespie. He lays it up at the offhand. That is good. For the first time today, the Raiders have the lead, 28-27. Gillespie's got 11, and Coach Turner needs a timeout. 30-second timeout called by Coach Turner. First time out of the second half, 6:25 to play in the third quarter. It's Dunkerton 28 and Central City 27. The Raiders start the second half on a quick 7-0 run, and they now have their first lead, I believe, of the ball game, 28-27. Just a 30-second timeout, so both teams are making their way back on the floor. Braden Rickles into the game for Central City. He replaces Jaden Hansen. It'll be Wildcat basketball. And the Raiders are back on the floor. No subs for them. Van Lengen, Marquardt, Fueling, Gillespie, and Weepy. Inbounds pass goes to Matthew Klosterman. He'll look to regroup this Wildcat offense that has gone cold and stagnant as of late. And that's turned over. Braden Rickles throws it right to Gillespie. He loses his dribble on the other end, picks it up on a knee, gets it out of there. But before that, a timeout was called by the Raiders. Coach Kuntz gets a 30-second timeout. Now both teams have used a full and a 30. 6:12 to go in the third quarter. Our score remains Raiders 28 and the Wildcats 27. Preston Gillespie leads the Raiders with 11 points. Leading scorer for Central City is Makai Benton. He has 13, but he hasn't scored in quite some time. Had a really fast start, but haven't seen much offense out of any of the Wildcats, really, as of late. Rickles, Benton, Shellhorn, and the Klostermans for Central City. No subs for the Raiders. Noah Fueling will throw it in underneath the Raider basket for Dunkerton. Fueling trying to get it in, does so in the corner to Marquardt, right wing to Gillespie. Gillespie driving in on Benton. Crossover, throws one up in the paint, gets to the hoop. Beautiful drive by Gillespie. He's got 13, and it's 30-27 Raiders. Matthew Klosterman over to Aiden Klosterman. Aiden down the floor into the front court to Benton, and Benton turns it over, throws it away, picked off by Braden Van Lengen. Three-pointer on the way from Fueling, and that is good. Noah Fueling drains the triple. He's got 7, and the Raiders all of a sudden lead it by 6. And another turnover. Rickles throws it away to Marquardt this time. The pressure is just completely halted the Wildcat offense. Gillespie working on the inside. He's double-teamed by the Klostermans, and they're going to get a foul on one of the Klosterman boys. That'll be on Aiden, and that is his first. Casser Abernathy back into the game for Central City, replacing Marcus Shellhorn. Wildcats beginning this second half, giving up a 12-0 run. Inbounds pass goes to Snyder, but he misses the inside layup, rebounded by Benton. Wildcats need a basket here in a major way. Matthew Klosterman into the front court, has it top of the key. Gives it over to Abernathy. He will drive in on the right side, throws one up in the paint, and a blocking foul is going to be called on Dylan Marquardt. That is his second foul. That'll be the first team foul of the half. It will be Wildcat basketball. Matthew Klosterman to throw it in for Central City. Everybody else in a box around the paint. Inbounds pass was intended for Benton, poked by Gillespie and taken away. Another Wildcat turnover. That one is blocked by Benton, but they're going to get a foul. The backside official is going to call a foul, and that is Makai's third. Team foul number 3. I thought he had all ball, but they're going to say it was a foul, and Gillespie will shoot a pair at the line. He's already got 13. Chance to extend this Raider lead. Coach Turner certainly wanting an explanation after that one. He's having a lengthy conversation with the official as Gillespie misses the first. Gillespie will shoot one more. Second free throw on the way from Gillespie. That one is good. He goes 1 of 2. He's got a game-high 14 points. And the Raiders lead 34-27. Matthew Klosterman over to Castor Abernathy in the front court. Splits a double team. Gives it over to Braden Rickles. Fakes the triple, driving in. And another turnover. Wildcats just cannot quit turning the basketball over at the moment. On the other end, Matthew Klosterman pokes the ball away without touching the offensive player, and he's called for a foul. It's Matthew's second, team foul number 4, and Lucas Greif getting his first appearance of the game. He will replace Braden Rickles. Greif, a 5'8" senior, averaging 1.5 points per game. Marquardt will throw it in, does so to Braden Van Lengen, now left wing to Fueling. Over to Marquardt on the right wing, inside to Gillespie, dumps it down. Snyder with a layup, and he puts it in. Jacob Snyder with his first basket. It is 36-27 Dunkerton. Unbelievable 15-0 run here by the Raiders to begin the third quarter because the Wildcats can't quit turning the basketball over at the moment. Greif gives it to Matthew Klosterman. He'll take a right wing triple just off front of the rim, but out of bounds off of Snyder. And it will stay with Central City, 19 on the shot clock, as Dalton Weepy back into the game for the Raiders, replacing Jacob Snyder. and Jaden Hansen re-entering for Central City. He will replace Aiden Klosterman. Matthew Klosterman will inbound it here. 36-27 Raiders our score, 4:20 to go in the third quarter. Matthew gets it into Abernathy. Gives it over to Hansen. Hansen dribbling to his right, going inside, throws up a wild one, but he's fouled. And Jaden Hansen will shoot a couple of free throws. Foul's going to be called on Braden Van Lengen. That is his first, and Dunkerton's second foul of the third quarter. Jaden Hansen, just a 21% free throw shooter on the year, will shoot 2, looking for his first points of the ball game. First one from Hansen is good, well off to the left. He will shoot 1 more. Second free throw on the way from Hansen. That one's short off front of the rim and rebounded by Marquardt. Gillespie with the basketball for the Raiders. Crossing into the front court. Gives it over to Dylan Marquardt. Marquardt gives it back to Gillespie. Guarded by Benton. Driving in. Stops. Kicks it out. Now Marquardt driving in. Gives it over to Fueling. He'll take a right corner 3. That's off the mark, and Benton with the good box out, gets the backside rebound. Matthew Klosterman into the front court for Central City. Has it top of the key, dribbling to his right, uses the screen, stops, gets it out to Abernathy. Back to Matthew Klosterman, fakes the three-pointer. Now looking around, picks it up, swings it over to Hansen left wing into the corner to Abernathy. Abernathy dribbling to his left, in some trouble. Nearly another turnover. Greif kicks it over to Hansen in the right corner. 6 in the shot clock. Greif out to Benton. 3 on the shot clock. Benton puts up a very tough jumper, and that's off the mark. Van Lengen with the rebound. Wildcats need to get the basketball to Makai Benton, who hasn't hardly touched it here in the second half. Gillespie with the ball for the Raiders, dribbling to his right. Benton all over him, and they're going to get a foul. Benton picks up his third. Little too aggressive defense there from Benton. That might actually, looks like that is his 4th, in fact. Unless I've been keeping track of my fouls incorrectly, I believe that is his 4th. Wildcats need a timeout. They still have not scored here in this third quarter. Nearly 5 minutes in is Dunkerton 36 and Central City 27. I said they needed to play a little bit better than they did in the second quarter to hold on to this lead. Well, they have certainly not done that. Countless turnovers here in the second half, unfortunately, has resulted in the Raiders getting out to a 9-point advantage. This is a full 60-second timeout as the first horn sounds. Coach Turner trying to get something into his guys, see if they can have some sort of fire come out of the floor. They have the Klostermans with Shellhorn, Hansen, and Greif. The Raiders on the floor now with Van Lengen, Marquardt, Fueling, Gillespie, and Weepy. Dylan Marquardt will inbound it for the Raiders. Everybody else in a box. Inbounds pass will go to Fueling. Shellhorn got a hand on that one, but Gillespie with the offensive board. His putback is also partially tipped by Marcus Shellhorn. And Aiden Klosterman gives it over to Matthew into the front court, has a right wing. Matthew stops in the paint, puts up a floater, and finally the Wildcats have a second half basket. That one is Matthew's first of the game. It's 36-29 Raiders, 2:45 to go in the third quarter. Weepy going baseline, just throws it up for grabs, taken away by Aiden Klosterman. Aiden gives it over to Matthew Klosterman in the front court, has it on the right wing, dribbling left, getting inside, puts up a floater in the paint, short off front of the rim and rebounded by Fueling. But Shellhorn nearly tips that one away, but picked back up, down the floor to Gillespie. He throws one up in the paint, no good, left it short, rebound is tipped, goes actually to the bottom of the basket, and blocked by Hansen, but they're going to call a foul. Looks like Hansen just picked up the foul. That is Jaden's third. Team foul number 6, and Gillespie will shoot 2. Gillespie with 14 points so far. First free throw on the way. He makes the first. Give him a game-high 15 points. He will shoot one more. Second free throw from Gillespie upcoming. That one's on the way, and that is good. Preston Gillespie makes both. He's got 16 to lead all scorers. It's 38-29 Dunkerton. Raiders pressuring right when the half-court line is crossed. That one's nearly thrown away by Hanson, but tipped by the Raiders and stays with Central City. 24 on the shot clock as Matthew Klosterman will inbound. Everybody else in a box. Matthew to inbound here for Central City. Well guarded by the Raiders, and the inbounds pass goes to Lucas Greif into the corner to Hanson. Aiden Klosterman at the elbow. Over to Matthew Klosterman. Fakes the triple. Over to Hanson now. Aiden Klosterman fakes a three from the left wing. Driving in. 12 on the shot clock. Aiden Klosterman throws one up. That is no good, and Aiden chasing the rebound is called for the foul. A little too aggressive that time from Aiden. That is his second, team 7th. That's a especially hard one because that means Preston Gillespie, Dunkerton's best player, gets to go down and shoot a couple of free throws. They're actually a 1-and-1, but the way he shoots free throws, it's more likely than not to be a couple. So Gillespie will shoot a 1-and-1. He's already got a game-high 16 points. First one is on the way. That rattles home. Give him 17 points in the night. And it's 39-29. Raiders just dominating Central City here in the third quarter. Gillespie will shoot another. That one is perfect. That's 18 points for Preston Gillespie. And the Raiders lead it by 11, 40-29. Double-digit Wildcat lead is very quickly turned into a double-digit Raider lead in less than a quarter. Aiden Klosterman has it at the free throw line driving in. Gives it over to Hanson, right wing. Top of the key to Matthew Klosterman. Fakes the three. He will stop for a pull-up jumper. That rattles out. Rebound picked up by Shellhorn, but is taken away. That one's taken by Marquardt. Marquardt over to Weepy. 90 seconds to play in the third quarter. 40-29 Raiders. Marquardt has the basketball for Dunkerton, guarded by Shellhorn. It's tipped, taken away by Marcus Shellhorn. Had a 1-on-2, but wisely pulls it out. Now Matthew Klosterman takes a trailing three, and that is good. Big-time three from Matthew Klosterman. He's got 5 points. It's 40-32. Wildcats need more plays like that if they want to crawl their way back into this one. Marquardt up the floor to Mickles, and he travels. The 5'9 sophomore shuffled his foot, goes back to Central City. Little under a minute to go until the end of the third. It is 40-32. Dunkerton by 8 here over Central City from Cohawk Arena. Matthew Klosterman into the front court. See if the Wildcats can't get a 2-for-1 here. Has it right wing, takes the triple. That is off the mark and rebounded by Marquardt. Marquardt up ahead to Van Langen. Wildcats did at least get the 2-for-1. Inside, taken away by Matthew Klosterman, but a perfect dish to Marquardt for a three. That's off the mark. And it's rebounded by Van Langen, and his putback is good. Braden Van Langen working on the glass, gets the putback. He's got 6. Shot clock is off. One shot coming up for Central City. Matthew Klosterman with the basketball. 20 seconds to go until the end of the third. It's 42-32 Raiders. Big collision on the inside. Several players hit the deck. And Lucas Greif throws it away. Pass is too tall for Aiden Klosterman. And now Dunkerton will get the last shot. Would love to see how many turnovers the Wildcats have in this third quarter because it almost certainly outnumbers their points. Scored 5 points here in the third quarter. I'm almost certain they've turned it over more times than that. Marquardt inbounds to Fueling. 10 seconds, has it in the backcourt, gives it over to Gillespie, crossing into the front court, and Aiden Klosterman with a silly foul. Called for his third, just didn't need to do that. And Gillespie now gets to shoot a 1-and-1. Makai Benson's back into the game for Central City. Believe he is playing with 4 fouls. He replaces Jaden Hanson. The previous foul was Aiden's third, team 8th. And Gillespie will shoot a 1-and-1. Front end on the way from Gillespie. That is no good. Rattles out, but an offensive board by Weepy. Now a tie-up traveling violation instead is the call. So it will go to Central City with 6 seconds until the break. Raiders are pressing here. Wildcats trying to get one shot here with 6 seconds to go. Inbounds pass goes to Matthew Klosterman. Gives it up to Makai Benson. He will drive in, throws up a floater at the horn. That is off the mark, and that'll do it for the third quarter. Wildcats only put up 5 points. Raiders are all over Central City in the third. And after 3, our score, Dunkerton 42 and Central City 32. So some scoring numbers through 3 quarters. Wildcats still led by Mekhi Benton. He's got 13, but he hasn't scored, I don't think, since early second quarter. He's been quiet for a long time. Has had some foul trouble, and they haven't really gotten the basketball to him when he's been in the game. Need to get him the ball a little bit more. Aiden Klosterman has 7. Matthew Klosterman and Marcus Shellhorn both have 5, and Braden Rickles has 2. For the Raiders, Preston Gillespie leads all scorers with 18 points. Dylan Marquardt has 8, Noah Fueling with 7, Braden Van Lengen with 6, and Dalton Weepy with 1. Jacob Snyder also 2 points for Dunkerton. It'll be Central City basketball to begin the fourth quarter. Possession arrow currently favoring the Wildcats, so they will get it first. And they will work left to right here, continuing to do so in the fourth quarter. The Klostermans with Greif, Benton, and Shellhorn on the floor for Central City. For the Raiders, it is Weepy, Snyder, Gillespie, Fueling, and Mickles. 8 minutes to play in this one. Wildcats need a comeback if they want to pull off the victory over the number 6 team in Class 1A. Matthew Klosterman has it right wing. Over to Aiden Klosterman, top of the key. Thought about a three-pointer. Gives it over to Lucas Greif, and a block is called on the Raiders. Foul on Noah Fueling. That is his first. Team's third is all here in the second half. We'll stay with Central City. Fresh shot clock as Matthew Klosterman will throw it in underneath the Wildcat hoop for the Wildcats. 10 seconds gone here in the fourth quarter. 42-32, Dunkerton. Benton skies into a left wing triple. No good. Rebound is loose. Matthew picks it up under the basket. Put back is good. Great hustle by the point guard, Matthew Klosterman. He's got 7, and the Wildcats are pressing in the full court. Weepy has it for the Raiders. Swings it over to Fueling into the front court. Fueling over to Weepy in the left corner. That is Snyder. Out to Weepy. Now right wing. Mickles will take a three-pointer. That is good. Big-time 3 for Mason Mickles. He drains a triple. And it's 45-34 Raiders. Matthew Klosterman, top of the key for Central City. Left wing to Aiden Klosterman. Dribbling right over to Greif on the right wing. Greif gives it over to Matthew Klosterman. Fakes the 3, driving baseline. He's double-teamed and is poked by Gillespie, taken away by Weepy, and they are going to call the foul. Matthew picks up his 3rd, and it is the team's 9th. So Dalton Weepy will get to shoot a 1-and-1 for Dunkerton. Foul's been a big problem for Central City here today. Continues to be the case here as about halfway through that third quarter, they had already gone over the limit. Raiders are shooting the rest of the way as they have been for a while. Weepy will shoot a 1-and-1. This is the final 1-and-1. After this, it'll be 2 free throws after every foul for the Raiders. First one from Weepy is too strong, and Mekhi Benton pulls in the rebound. Matthew Klosterman bringing it up for Central City. Has it top of the key. Dribbling left, now left wing. Hands it off to Aiden Klosterman. Aiden swings it out to Greif. Lucas Greif will take a three-pointer. That's off the mark and rebounded by Gillespie. Gillespie into the front court for the Raiders. Sends it down. Beautiful find. Weepy's open. He makes the layup. Outstanding assist from Gillespie. Weepy's got 3. And we've got a foul on the Raiders after the inbounds. Looks like it will go on Mickles. That is his first and Dunkerton's 4th as a team. Timeout Central City. Coach Turner calls a full 60-second timeout. 6:34 to go in the ball game. It is Dunkerton 47 and Central City 34. So the Wildcats with just a 30-second timeout remaining. Raiders have 2 fulls and a 30. Again, 47-34 is our score here. 6.5 minutes to play in the game. Wildcats led 18-7 after a quarter, 27-21 at the break. But after putting up just 5 points in the third quarter and only 2 so far here in the fourth, they find themselves in a big hole, 47-34. Raiders are without their star point guard, Casey Gardner, averaging 23.5 points, nearly 11 assists per game. It appears he's on the bench with his arm in a sling. Raiders were not prepared to play without him. It didn't appear at first. Wildcats got out to a big lead. But now the Raiders are the one leading big. 47-34, 6.5 to go in the game. Wildcats with the Klostermans, Benton, Shellhorn, and Greif. It is Wildcat basketball out of the timeout. Lucas Greif will inbound to Matthew Klosterman. Klosterman bringing it up for the Wildcats, and if Central City wants any chance of getting back into this one, they need to go right now. Matthew dribbling right, guarded by Mickles. Inside, Benton dribbles through, throws one up. The layup's no good. Tipped around, it's still loose, out of bounds. And one referee signals one way, the other signals the other. I don't know which is correct. After a conversation, one referee overturns the other, and it will be Central City basketball. Matthew Klosterman to throw it in for the Wildcats. Gets it into Marcus Shellhorn in the left corner. Now goes left wing to Benton. Top of the key to Matthew Klosterman. Thought about a triple. Now goes right wing to Aiden Klosterman. Dribbling left, picks it up. Over to Greif. Greif has it in the right corner. High post, and an offensive foul called to Makai Benton. And I believe that was his 5th. Preston Gillespie stands in to take the charge, and that was his 5th. Makai Benton finishes the day with 13 points, but all of those points came in the first quarter and the opening minutes of the second quarter, as he was hampered by foul trouble all day, and he was done with 6:07 to go. Raider basketball. Long down court pass way over the head as Noah Fueling overshot the target that time. And it will be Wildcat basketball underneath their own hoop as nobody touched on the pass, so that means it will be inbounded from where the previous pass was thrown. 47-34 Dunkerton. Matthew Klosterman to inbound it. Trying to find somewhere to go. Gets it into Lucas Greif, right wing. Goes into the corner to Matthew Klosterman. Driving baseline. Throws up a shot. It's blocked by Weepy. Rebounded by Gillespie. Gillespie into the front court for Dunkerton. Now tries to go inside, but he also way overshoots the target. Jacob Snyder's about 6'1". If he was 6'9", he might have had a shot at that one, but not even sure about that. Inbounds pass goes to Matthew Klosterman. Under 6 minutes to play, 47-34 Raiders. Very good Dunkerton team in action here today. Wildcats trying to come back after seeing their lead evaporate. Shellhorn has it in the paint. Was not strong with the basketball and has it taken away by Jacob Snyder. Fueling now in the front court for Dunkerton. Being pressured and double teamed, in some serious trouble now. Goes inside to Snyder. His layup is no good, but Matthew Klosterman fouls him from behind, and he will shoot 2. That is Matthew's 4th foul, team's 10th. Raiders will shoot 2 the rest of the way, as Jacob Snyder, 2 points in the night, will shoot 2 free throws, 50% free throw shooter on the season. First one on the way from Snyder. That one is good. He's perfect on the first. Give him 3 on the night. Braden Van Lengen and Dylan Marquardt back in for the Raiders, replacing Mickles and Weepy, a couple subs who gave the Raiders really good minutes in that previous stretch. As Snyder will shoot one more. Second one on the way. That is good. He's perfect on both. Give him 4 for the ball game. And the Raiders starting to flex their muscles a little bit, up 49-34. Aiden Klosterman has it left wing. Picks up his dribble, in some trouble, over to Rickles. Rickles trying to drive inside. Throws up a wild shot. No good, gets his own miss. Back out to Shellhorn. Has it in the left corner, over to Greif, left wing. Top of the key to Matthew Klosterman, taken away. Stolen by Fueling on the other end. His layup is going to roll home. Noah Fueling with the steal that quickly turns into a score. He's got 9, averages less than 5 a game, so a nice game from him. And the Raiders lead 51-34. Matthew Klosterman, pull-up jumper from the right elbow, off the mark. Out of bounds, off of Lucas Greif, trying to get the offensive board. Goes back to the Raiders. Castor Abernathy re-enters the game for Central City, and he replaces Lucas Greif. Inbounding the ball for the Raiders is Dylan Marquardt. Wildcats are in a full-court press. Nearly halfway through the fourth quarter, it's 51-34 Raiders. Van Lengen going downhill for Dunkerton. Dumps it down to Gillespie. Nice step-through move, and Preston Gillespie puts in the basket. Give him 20 points on the afternoon. Kind of a paltry effort for his standards. That's because his standards are unbelievably high. Averages 27.5 a night. 20 points for any basketball player is an outstanding day. As ball was tipped out of play, last touched by the Raiders. Will stay with Central City. 4:14 to play in the game. 53-34 Raiders. Inbounds pass goes to Braden Rickles, and what is he doing? Oh, they don't call it. My goodness. Okay. Rickles crossed from the front court to the back court, but the officials didn't call that one. Matthew Klosterman driving inside. He's fouled in there. Gillespie's going to be called for the foul. That is his second. Dunkerton's fourth, it appears. And Matthew Klosterman will shoot 2. Matthew, a 71% free throw shooter on the year. 7 points so far tonight. That was, in fact, team foul number 5. And Matthew will shoot 2, will the lefty sophomore point guard. First one on the way. That is too strong off the back iron. Matthew will get one more, but Coach Turner is first going to use his final timeout. It is a 30-second timeout. So Coach Turner has no more timeouts remaining. 4:04 to play in the game. 53-34 Raiders is our score. Wildcats with just 7 second-half points at this point. And that is the story of things here today. That is why the Raiders have been able to storm back in such emphatic fashion, and they're going to walk out of here with a comfortable victory, and that did not appear to be the case about 45 minutes ago. So props to them, playing without a couple starters, coming out slow, falling behind, but they have showed why they are ranked 6th in the state despite missing a couple starters. This is a high-powered Raider team, and they are well on their way to moving 13-0 on the year. Matthew will shoot one more here. 4 minutes and 4 seconds to play in the game as Matthew is no good on the second free throw. Bounced around the rim for a while. Gillespie with the rebound. Wildcats still pressing. Matthew pokes that one loose, diving after it, tries to save it, cannot do so. Ends up climbing the bleachers 4 rows deep. Glad nobody was sitting there. And it will be Raider basketball, but 27 seconds are all that's left in the shot clock. They did have a few seconds come off. Under halfway, or a little over halfway, excuse me, through our fourth quarter. Inbounds pass, goes to Fueling, sends it way down the floor to Snyder, connects with him. Give to Gillespie. Abernathy tries to take a charge, no call, there's a tie-up for it. Alternating possession arrow favoring Dunkerton will stay with the Raiders. They reset the shot clock. I'm not 100% sure if that is what's supposed to happen, to be quite frank with you. But that is what happens, so the Raiders will inbound it. Marquardt to throw it in. Does so to Snyder on the backside. Blocked by Abernathy and rebounded by Aiden Klosterman. Aiden into the front court for Central City. Over to Matthew Klosterman. Left wing, open triple for Matthew. That's no good. And Snyder with the rebound. Noah Fueling loves that almost football-like pass. That time connects with Snyder. Throws one up inside. It's poked loose. Marcus Shellhorn takes it away, and he gives it to Aiden Klosterman. 3:20 to go. 53-34 Raiders. Aiden Klosterman throws one up. That's just short off the rim and rebounded by Gillespie. Gillespie has a pass tip taken away by Braden Rickles. It's a 2-on-1 for the Wildcats. Rickles takes it himself, is fouled by Snyder. And Braden Rickles earns a couple of free throws for Central City. That is Snyder's second and team foul number 6. Rickles a 2 points so far on the game. On the year, he's just a 20% free throw shooter. First one on the way from Rickles. That is good. Rickles makes the first. He's got 3 points. Is that a sub for the Raiders? Dalton Weepy into the game, replacing Jacob Snyder. Brady Wise will enter the game for the first time after this next free throw. He is going to be getting Braden Rickles, as Rickles misses everything but the backboard in the second. Goes 1 of 2. And Brady Wise into the game, a 5'9 sophomore, playing just his 5th game of the year, averaging 2.5 points. He is a 60% three-point shooter. Really good young shooter for Central City. 53-35 is our score, 3 minutes to play. Wildcats are pressing. Raiders have it in the front court now. Gillespie dumps it down. Van Langen throws one up. Was bumped by Shellhorn, no foul, and it's going to be rebounded by Gillespie. His putback's no good, and now Matthew Klosterman comes out of there with it. Matthew into the front court, has it right wing. Dribbling to his left. Cross-court pass to Brady Wise, left corner. Now top of the key to Abernathy. Left wing, Wise fakes the triple, driving in. Good aggression out of the sophomore right into the game. Matthew Klosterman going inside now. Throws one up on the inside. It is good, and a foul as well. Matthew Klosterman gets the and 1 to go. He's got 9, chance to make it 10. Foul goes on Dalton Weepy, his first, team 7th. Both teams are over the limit for these last 2:31 as Matthew Klosterman will shoot 1 free throw. Free throw on the way from Matthew. That is going to be too strong. No, it does take a friendly roll. High bounce off the back iron and through. That's 10 for Matthew here tonight. 53-38 our score. 2.5 to play in the ball game. Gillespie with the basketball into the front court, but it throws it out of bounds. Was tipped by Central City is the call. I didn't see it. Brady Wise very much disagrees with the call, as does Coach Turner. Got thumbs down being called by Coach Turner. We'll see what that means. Inbounds pass goes to Marquardt in the corner, inside to Gillespie. He puts it up, and that is good, and the foul called on Marcus Shellhorn. 22 for Gillespie, chance to make it 23 as Shellhorn is whistled for his second. Team's already over the limit in the double bonus, and Gillespie will shoot one more. 22 points for him tonight, a little bit of a slow start, but really started to come alive late in the second quarter. Off the mark on that free throw, but still has 22 points. Really nice game from one of the state's leading scorers. Matthew Klosterman dribbling left. Fakes the pass, goes inside. It's blocked, looked like by Gillespie, excuse me. Now Fueling has it for the Raiders. 2 minutes to play in the game, 55-38 Dunkerton. Weepy with the basketball over to Gillespie right at half court. Now a give to Marquardt. Raiders are content to waste some time and run down the shot clock. It's tipped by Abernathy. He comes up with the steal, gives it to Brady Wise. Wise into the front court. Spinning, has it right wing. Gives it over to Aiden Klosterman. Now Matthew Klosterman takes a left corner triple. That's off the mark and rebounded by Fueling. Down the floor to Gillespie, one-on-one at the rim with Abernathy. Goes through, puts it up with the offhand. 24 points for Gillespie. Under 90 seconds to play. It's 57-38 Raiders. Abernathy takes a right wing triple. Short off front of the rim, rebounded by Gillespie. Long down floor pass to Marquardt. Overshot his target. Is turned over back to the Wildcats. New player about to enter the game for Dunkerton. As number 4 will be going into the game for the Raiders. I don't have a 4 on my roster. Also into the game is almost let Aiden Hesse into the game without, as Marcus Shellhorn gets the layup on the other end. Almost let a sub into the game while the action was taking place. Shellhorn's got 7. It's 57-40, 1 minute to play. The player is Colin Snyder, a 5'6" freshman. Must have been added just in these last day or so, as Gillespie's no good in the shot. Matthew Klosterman rebounds. Matthew into the front court. 45 seconds to play. Gives it over to Abernathy, top of the key. Driving in, spin move on the inside, but loses his footing, and it's called for a travel. David Munyakazi making his first appearance of the game for Central City. And for the Raiders, we've got Quentin Miller in for the first time alongside Aiden Hesse. We've also got Mason Mickles back into the game. Munyakazi for Central City, a 6'1" senior, averaging 1 point per night and nearly 2 rebounds. Also in for Central City, we've got Nolan Gates, a 5'10" sophomore. Half a rebound, half an assist per night for Gates in limited action. Bringing it up the floor for the Raiders is Colin Snyder. Has it top of the key. Kicks it out. Mickles picks up his dribble at the free throw line. Over to Snyder. Looking to go inside. Does so to Hesse. No look pass is poked and taken away by Nolan Gates. Shot clock is off as Nolan Gates brings it up the floor for Central City. This one's just about over. Abernathy pulls a very deep triple. Misses everything. And the Raiders will get it back with 10 seconds to play. Inbounds pass goes to Mickles. He appears content to hold this one out as he will cross into the front court. Final few seconds roll off the clock, and that'll do it. Our final score here from Coe College is Dunkerton 57 and Central City 40. Wildcats came out hot, but the Raiders responded in a big way. Wildcats do finally get a little offense going there in that fourth quarter, but still only 13 second half points, and they fall to the Raiders by a final of 57-40. So with the win, the Raiders improved to a perfect 13-0 on the season. The Wildcats fall to 10-6 on the year after this WFA shootout matchup. Here's a look at the final numbers. First for the Raiders. They were led by Preston Gillespie, averages 27.5 per night, had 24 here. Another outstanding game from the 5th leading scorer in the state of Iowa. Noah Fueling had a nice game. He had 9 points for the Raiders. Dylan Marquardt added 8. 6 from Braden Van Lengen. 4 points for Jacob Snyder. 3 from both Dalton Weepy and Mason Mickles. For Central City, Mackay Benton led the way with 13, but he did not score after the early portions of the second quarter. Really went cold and had some foul trouble. Matthew Klosterman had 10. Aiden Klosterman had 7. Marcus Shellhorn also with 7 points for Central City. Braden Rickles added 3 to round out the Wildcats scoring. So again, our final score here is Dunkerton 57 and Central City 40. Coming up for the Wildcats, they will be back in action coming up on the 17th. That is Tuesday. They host Springville. And then they will go to Edgewood Colesburg on Friday. We are getting towards the end of the season here, just 6 more games in the regular season. On the 24th, they host North Lynn. 27th, they host Alburnett. On the 31st, they go to East Buchanan. And they conclude the regular season on February 7th. That is at Makokata Valley. So Wildcats with some tough games on the ledger to conclude the regular season. And then we will be looking towards postseason here in just a little while. I do not think I will be on the call on Tuesday. I will be in Cedar Falls most likely. But I think Cindy McCarthy will call that game against Springville. On Friday, they're on the road, so no broadcast from our end. The next week, 2 broadcasts, I believe, on the Wildcat Sports YouTube page. And the 24th against North Lynn, I believe Cindy McCarthy will have that one. I will have the call on Friday the 27th for a rematch with Alburnett. Wildcats played with the Pirates for almost a full half before they gave up a 12-0 run that really decided the outcome of the game. But definitely looking forward to that one. That should be a good one coming up in a couple of weeks. So, folks, that is going to do it for today. Thank you so much for tuning into coverage of Wildcat basketball here from the WFA Shootout. And I have to give a big thank you to all the great folks to help put this event together for allowing me to come in and have an outstanding spot to broadcast this ball game. Very much do appreciate it, and glad the Wildcats are able to participate in such an outstanding event for the 3rd time here today. One more time, our final score, Dunkerton comes back and wins it in comfortable fashion over the Wildcats. Final score, Raiders 57 and Central City 40. So until we speak again, I'm David Warrington saying good afternoon and go Cats.